News, find out how an IMF prediction may hit your pocketbooks. Plus, the unsolved mystery of a man who goes missing the day of his baptism. His family speaks out about the shocking loss. And later, celebrating Team Bahamas as they return from Carifta. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. The cost of living may be on the way up again as the International Monetary Fund is projecting the highest price hike in decades looms. Bethany McDermott reports.
The International Monetary Fund is projecting consumer prices will increase by 7.3% this year. Prime Minister Philip Davis says the news didn't take him by surprise. He says his government is working to mitigate the impact on consumers.
We're looking at measures and initiatives now to do that. We are talking with shipping companies to lower the cost of freight coming in and to try and get discounts on containers. We've already successfully did that with one company, and we are now talking about how we could assist through the logistical supply chain to reduce costs in those areas.
The IMF's World Economic Outlook comes as Bahamians face rising fuel, food, and other prices, and as the country is still on the rebound following the global pandemic. The IMF's projected increase would be the highest annual percentage change in inflation since 1991, when consumer prices increased by 7.3%. Inflationary pressures are projected to see a lower increase in 2023 of 4.5%. before leveling out to pre-pandemic levels of 2.4% in 2027.
We're not surprised because a lot of the factors that inform the inflationary numbers are not we can't control, we have no control of it.
His comments were echoed by Social Services and Urban Development Minister Obi Wilchcombe, who said government will increase social services assistance amid this grim revelation.
Yes, absolutely. The Prime Minister will unveil because we have to meet the needs of our people. These are situations that you didn't plan for, but the circumstances are what they are. Our job is to respond to them. We will.
Opposition member Kwesi Thompson also weighing in, saying the IMF report didn't take him by surprise. He offered a number of suggestions the Davis administration could implement to ease the burden on Bahamians. Topping that list, removing VAT from breadbasket items.
They have been consulting, but we are calling upon them to act. One easy, very quick thing that can be done is they can remove VAT off of breadbasket items. That will have an immediate effect on the prices that people pay for food.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Meanwhile, underscoring the government's commitment to Bahamas Power and Light's fuel hedging strategy, Works and Utilities Minister Alfred Sears says an increase in consumers' electricity bills is possible.
I think that there is always the possibility the government, as a matter of public policy, intends to maintain the hedge strategy. And as you know, the hedge strategy is intended to minimize, not eliminate, but to minimize the volatility of the fuel price in the global market. That hedge, the support for the hedge remains.
In February, BPL released, then retracted a statement announcing that customers' fuel charges will increase from 10.5 cents per kilowatt hour to 13.7 cents per kWh. Today, Sears said the Davis administration is working to increase the Bahamas' use of renewable energy. He notes a major solar energy project will soon be announced for New Providence and Ragged Island.
You will hear very shortly a major project in New Providence for the generation of solar energy, and also projects in many of our family islands, as well as the commissioning of the solar microgrid in Rugged Island.
Now, the president of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union is also weighing in on a possible hike in the cost of electricity. Our Megan Shepard has the details.
You may see a rise in another one of your bills soon, this time for electricity. That, according to president of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, Kyle Wilson.
It's almost near inevitable with the price of fuel going up. there's only so much you can absorb. It's like a sponge. There's only so much a sponge can absorb. So the company said, hey, we're willing to absorb a lot of those fees, but how much can they absorb with the rising cost of fuel? And so this is where you must have reliable operators, persons who are going to save the Bahamian people money on damages, downtime, overtime, repairs. You must have the best. And like I said, these issues aren't coming necessarily from the BPL side of it. These are coming from the contracted power producers.
With recent power outages, Wilson says customers are not receiving bang for their buck. He says he believes the island's newest plant may also be a problem.
And so they think it's the Bahamian workers at BPL. But we have a foreign company managing and operating engines that we feel as if may not be the right type of engines, and they've had basically many issues from the start of it to this day.
He has these recommendations.
Take a look at that agreement. Take a look at the type of equipment. Let's also look to cleaner, greener energy, energy with less moving parts. Let's look at solar. Let's look at wind. Let's look at marine environment. Let's see how we could probably use that to generate electricity.
So what about the summer months, notorious for blackouts and load-shedding exercises?
Serious changes in personnel and ideas, and equipment must be made to have BPL summer ready for 2022. And so in my pertinent view, we have not necessarily done what I think to have the company fully summer ready. And I would tell the Bahamian people to prepare for what could be a possible rough.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
Thanks, Megan. Well, pleasant conditions this evening. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us from the Weather Center.
Welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this very windy Wednesday evening. Temperatures comfortable right now in the mid-70s, 76 under partly cloudy skies, and those winds are really whipping up out there. East-northeast at 22 miles per hour, and they are gusting high at times. Your feels like temperature a very comfortable 74 degrees. Satellite view, ridge of high pressure building in. There is a weak boundary that's moving through the northwest Bahamas. Should be into the central Bahamas later on tonight, but that high is going to continue to dominate our weather, the very windy conditions. That upper level low that was generating some showers across the southeast Bahamas now moving out of the area. A couple of small showers still across the southeast Bahamas, but things should be clearing up later on tonight. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, why one family is speaking out after a man goes missing on the day of his baptism.
I'm Marcellus Hall. Coming up in Sports Point tonight, Team Bahamas making their triumphant return from Barbados. 65 medals and the overall points total. Team Bahamas winning its 4th consecutive Caribbean Swim Championships. More ahead in sports.
And later, a local children's home needs your help. Find out why when Our News returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamika.
A man is believed to have drowned on the morning of his baptism more than a month ago. Tonight, the 23-year-old's family speaks out to Jared Higgs about their missing loved one.
My son disappeared. I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened to him.
A grieving 63-year-old LED Jean doesn't know for certain what happened to his son, but he and his family have an idea of what may have taken place. Back on Saturday, March 12th, 23-year-old Junior John told his family, including his 22-year-old girlfriend, Monica Bocage, to meet him near Goodman's Bay at 8 a.m. sharp for his baptism.
He was so precise. On the time, he said to be on time, make sure we're on time, and we were here on time.
But it was Jean who would never show up. According to police, a group of women exercising saw Jean on the beach praying and worshiping at around 7 a.m. But it's what another eyewitness saw that concerned police and John's family.
A lady, she said that she heard someone in the water crying for help.
I interviewed John's relatives at Go Slow Bend, near to where he was last seen in the water. When the 23-year-old couldn't be found and with police searching for a man who reportedly drowned, family connected the dots. He was reported missing, and a flyer was released by police on March 18th. Police eventually recovered John's car keys, phone, vehicle, and probably the most important book to him.
This is his Bible. I remember buying it for him one Christmas. So, yes, it is.
John's relatives describe him as a mannerly, strong, and intelligent man. His girlfriend says they often went to church together. His uncle, Jeremiah Jean-Marie, says he treated him well.
He never disrespect me. He was a good guy.
As seagulls squawk overhead, John's family wonder what led him into the water that day. They say he wasn't a strong swimmer, but he had recently learned how. His baptism was meant to solidify his faith, but his disappearance has only tested the faith of his loved ones.
I'm hoping that we find him. We find him and he is alive in the name of Jesus.
I put God first. I tell God that thank you. He give it to me. He take it. Thank you very much.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
In other news, former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says National Security Minister Wayne Munro should be removed from his post. In Parliament today, Dr. Minnis addressed Munro's comments suggesting a 40-year-old man convicted of having unlawful sex with a 14-year-old girl received a sentence that was too severe. Dr. Minnis mincing no words.
What kind of slack government is this? What kind of message does this send to the country? What kind of message does this send to the women and girls of our society? At a time of high-profile crimes against women and girls, at a time of high crime rates, we have a Prime Minister defending a Minister of National Security who wants to be softer on criminals. The Minister of National Security has lost the confidence of the Bahamian people. And Madam Speaker, he needs to go.
The former Prime Minister also touching on crime, noting there seems to be no comprehensive plan to address the issue.
These are functional bills. They chart no new territory or offer creative responses to the spiral of crime we are now facing and which seems to keep getting worse.
Parliamentarians today also debating a group of bills aimed at making the court system more effective and efficient. Kicking off debate was National Security Minister Wayne Munro.
The Constitution provides that we are to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of this great country. And these bills are a step in that direction.
The debated bills include a bill for an act to amend the Magistrates Act, a bill for an act to amend the Evidence Act, a bill for an act to amend the Juries Act, and a bill for an act to amend the Criminal Procedure Code Act. Member of Parliament for St. Anne's, Adrian White, insists more needs to be done to get people before the courts and guns off the streets.
They say that guns don't kill people, people kill people. I say, Madam Speaker, get the guns off the street. I say that we should go into every yard and every building, every home, and get them all. People found in possession of an illegal weapon can be charged or not charged. Get the guns.
Well, as expected, Prime Minister Philip Davis tabled legislation that would allow the Bahamas to enter into the global carbon market. Davis says the Climate Change and Carbon Market Initiatives Bill 2022 will put the Bahamas in the right position. Jasmine Brown reports.
The PM continuing to make the case for tapping into the carbon credits market as a way to effectively fight climate change. Put simply, the Prime Minister says the bill seeks to make a way for the Bahamas to participate in the global response to climate change in ways which will be financially, practically, and environmentally beneficial.
As the world moves forward to address the causes of climate change, we intend to play an active and powerful role in charting the way forward. Madam Speaker, this climate change carbon initiatives bill that I intend to lay seeks to participate in the global response to the threat of climate change.
Prime Minister Davis made the comments in Parliament just moments before tabling the Climate Change and Carbon Market Initiatives Bill 2022. This bill, if passed, would empower the Prime Minister to create and implement initiatives and incentives to comply with the Paris Agreement. It would also enable the government to create incentives and implement initiatives to support the overall global target of greenhouse gas emissions, ensure compliance, as well as enable the establishment of a market in the Bahamas to trade in carbon credits. It would also allow for the appointments of a management company and advisory council, which would serve as a technical advisory body to a management company, as well as the establishment of the National Emissions Registry and the appointment of a registrar.
Carbon markets set a price for a unit of carbon dioxide, which can then be traded between a buyer and seller.
Responding to climate change has been at the top of the Davis administration's agenda. Last year at COP26, Davis called on world leaders to act in the fight on climate change.
Our administration has not been content to sit on the global sidelines, leaving our fate in the hands of others. My government will continue to make the case for urgent action.
In addition to tabling the climate change bill, Davis also tabled a policy white paper on the future of digital assets in the Bahamas. That document outlines a framework to guide digital asset policy in the country. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
When our news comes back from the break, there's work to be done ahead of hosting Carifta next year. Marcellus Hall has the latest in sports. And later, a little goes a long way. Find out how you can help one local children's home. The details when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5". Hi, this is Shamik.
This is our news. Welcome back. The Bahamas track president says there's work to be done ahead of hosting Carifta next year. Meanwhile, our Carifta swim team makes its 4 titles in a row. Marcellus Hall has the latest in sports.
Well, Team Bahamas making their triumphant return from the island of Barbados after 4 days of stiff competition. On that island, the Bahamas once again reigned supreme after 4 days of leading the way from front to start as they took down Jamaica, who finished a distant second place. Team Bahamas with 65 medals in total, once again making their return as champions.
Our Carifta track and field team making its way home last night after a long journey. The team, as you remember, finished in second place overall. Now, the Bahamas will be the host of next year's Carifta Championships right here in New Providence. Meanwhile, B3A's president, Jamaica Archer, echoing those sentiments, he added that the Bahamas will need to wrap up its efforts to develop their track program if they want to do well on home soil.
Well, it's a bittersweet time for us. We're happy that we would have placed second overall, but it was a distant second, and there's a lot of work to be done. As we move into 2023, it's a significant event for the Bahamas, and of course, we never want to be embarrassed on home soil, and so we have a lot of work to do. Immediately, we'll have a postmortem to assess where we are as a track and field federation. It is my intention to have Team Bahamas in top shape for next year.
The swim team, meanwhile, returning home as well after a triumphant 4th consecutive championship at those very same event. The swim championships wrapping up in Barbados yesterday, and Team Bahamas once again finishing in that first spot, solidifying themselves as the perennial champions. Bahamas finishing ahead of Jamaica, who were finished in second. So it's looking pretty good to this point in time. Again, the team winning its 4th consecutive championship at the conclusion of the Carifta Swim Championships.
And that's your look at sports here on this Wednesday. I'm Marcellus Hall here at the Lynden Pillen International Airport. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Well, Greg is back in the Weather Center, and later, open homes and open hearts. One local children's home is looking to the community for help. That's coming up when our news returns.
Got size at 6'5".
Hi, this is Shamik.
Welcome back to our news. Sunny skies and some showers possible this week. Greg, what else can we expect?
Welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. That upper level low that's been spinning across the central and southeast Bahamas now moving into the Atlantic, taking all that moisture associated with it well across Hispaniola and Puerto Rico area. Some isolated showers are still occurring across the southeast Bahamas, but that will be clearing up later on tonight. A very weak front boundary moving into the northwest Bahamas early today. That should be in the central Bahamas later on tonight, but not much in terms of any weather associated with that. High pressure, that's the name of the game. It's been generating some very strong winds. We'll continue to do that for the next couple of days. Should be into the weekend before we see some relaxation in the winds, but very hazardous boating and beaching conditions expected for the remainder of the week. So we're asking you boaters, if you don't have to be out there on the waters, stay in port, and you beachgoers, we're urging you to remain on shore. Speaking of our boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas, an advisory is posted for you guys. Those winds will be northeasterly at 20 to 25 knots. They will be gusting much higher than that. Seas will be a very rough 5 to 9 feet. We're asking you residents in Eleuthera, the Glass Window Bridge, exercise some caution there as well. High tide will be at 11:52 tonight. For the southeast Bahamas, a caution flag initially, but we expect that to be raised to an advisory later on tomorrow. Northeasterly winds at 15 to 20 knots, and they will be gusting higher at times also. Your seas running 4 to 7 feet over the open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look at your extended forecast for the next couple of days. Cloudy conditions, but the winds will continue to be with us. Temperatures should stay rather comfortable in the low 80s, and then we expect some moisture back on the weekend. Precipitation chances going up by then. That's your look at weather. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Before we leave you tonight, we want to tell you about an opportunity to help a child in need. Jerome Sawyer shares how a small donation can go a long way.
It's often a daily struggle, keeping doors open and children clothed and fed. This is the reality of many of our children's homes. Huge needs and never enough money. The Grand Bahama Children's Home is a good example. On top of the money problems, finding families to adopt. But in the meantime, kids must be nurtured and cared for. Executive Director June Hutchinson and her team look after 32 kids in spite of the $400,000 shortfall. All noble work and open to almost anyone.
We have just begun to launch a Sponsor a Child program. So for $35 a day, you can sponsor a child from beginning to end. There's a website that you can go to, so info@gbchildren'shome.org, and you'll be able to find the full package of what that entails and how you can do your part to help in sponsoring some of these children.
If your pocketbook won't allow you to sponsor or adopt, there are other ways to help these kids.
We also look for donation in kind. So there are persons who say, well, I can't afford on a regular basis to do something, but I have grocery and here's a week's worth of grocery that I'd like to donate. Those kinds of things also help because that's money that we don't have to use to be able to provide for the children. And if persons would like to volunteer, they just need to call our office. And with the protocol of the COVID being established, we'll be able to assist them in how they can come read to a child, come play soccer with the children, how to teach etiquette, have a lesson, volunteer to do some homework with the children.
Hutchison is hoping that by sharing their story, others are inspired to open their doors and hearts.
They need to know that they're part of a bigger community that do care, and their families may not be there, but You look at the wider family that you've been able to adopt until we can get them either reunified or adopted. And there's even a fostering through social services if the persons would like to come. So there are many success stories, and that's what we want. And that encourages the children to see that it's the future. It's not where you are, but what do you want? What are your dreams?
Reporting for our news, I'm Jerome Sawyer.
To learn more about how you can help, visit our news on Facebook. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.